Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hi, everybody. It's Wednesday, June 2nd. Time for another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. What's good, Fruit Loop?
Yogi Bear.
Oh, man. So my neighbor last night calls me. I was actually driving to meet you to get my girls. And she says, I have a video you may want to see. So she says, there is a big bear that came from your backyard into mine. So she sent me the video. That was a hoss.
Huge.
Humongous. Not a cub.
No, it's a black bear. It was huge.
Can you imagine how many times I go outside at night to just do random stuff in my car?
You might want to rethink that.
It would be my luck to get chased by a bear.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, I got to give a big shout out to my nephew's mother-in-law, Tammy. She is a new listener, but she's binge listening, and I got to see her. Let's see, Memorial Day was Monday, so I got to see her on Monday, and she's all into the Valo case. So I just want to give a shout out to Tammy and say, hey, girl. Hey. And then just because I'm me, I got these new hardwood floors, and I'm not used to them. I had carpet, and so this morning I had my socks on, literally did a split.
You gonna have to get them gripper socks.
You're not kidding. I couldn't
them
even
hospital socks.
Okay, could not even stand up. I had to work my leg back to the center position because I pulled something in my left leg.
You old.
Oh man, your mama's old, but still, I'm not even gonna argue with you on that because I'm feeling it.
So eventually we're gonna have a P.O. box, and I'm gonna say, y'all want to send her some gripper socks? send her some of them hospital gripper socks.
Send her some ibuprofen while you're at it,
and some icy hot.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you need to tell these people about our. Well, I'm gonna put this on you to pronounce it. The punctuation.
It was me.
We had some punctuation that was missing from our last episode, and poor Zach Cox was on the receiving end of it.
Chewing the fat. So sometimes when you're labeling something, like if you're saving a file, it won't let you put punctuation in. So normally I change it when we're going to put the name of it out there. It'll let you put whatever you want. And for some reason, I forgot to put any kind of punctuation. So we were chewing the fat, Zach Cox.
Sorry, Zach. We were not calling you fat.
No.
We just forgot the colon.
Exactly.
Sorry about that, bud.
Wonder who named that a colon.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
The other colon is just not pleasant.
I know, right? So let's name these two little dots a colon.
Yeah. Look. Yeah. Okay. So just a huge thank you to everybody who has sent in the LDS Church's position on mental health.
Oh, yeah.
We had so many people, some people who are mental health professionals, and they are in the LDS Church. Just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
We're going to start weeding through that, and then that'll be on a future episode.
You mean reading or weeding?
Weeding through it.
Weeding?
Or
weeding?
No, I did not mispronounce reading. I'm going to kick you under the table.
We're going
to weed through all that stuff and make an episode out of it at some point. So what's some future dates we got coming up?
Okay, so old Chatty Boy, his arraignment's coming up on June 9th at 10:30 Mountain Standard Time.
That is 1 week from today. That is the day they found the kids' bodies, the day Chad was arrested, and also the day Pretty Lies and Alibis was born.
I know, and we spent 2 hours in the closet.
I know, with an iMac microphone and speakers, but so it's a really big deal for us.
Yeah.
we started off thinking it would just be a few listeners, and here we are almost a year later, coming up on 100 episodes. So I think next Wednesday, we're just going to have a really big episode.
Yeah.
We're just going to kind of sit back and talk about different things we've covered and kind of where we were and where we are now.
Do you remember, Taylor, your daughter had to listen because sometimes the signal would drop out because we were live back then.
Yeah.
We did straight up live, and Taylor would have to listen, and then she would come in and wave at us and say, it's not working.
Yeah, it was just so crazy. And now we've got fancy equipment and we've got a whole studio in my house. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's been fun though.
And it's all because of all you listeners, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
We have a few more stickers left before we have to reorder. So if you want a sticker, just shoot us an email, prettyliesandalibis@gmail.com, inbox us on social media. We had a couple of people who have not gotten theirs yet, so I'm just going to resend just to be safe. Somebody in Roebuck, South Carolina, which is, I'm not sure where Roebuck is.
I think it's toward Columbia that way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yep.
So if you have not gotten your sticker, we did send a couple to Australia and the UK. May take a little longer, but if you're in the States and you haven't gotten your sticker by now, just let us know and we'll shoot you another one out there.
Yeah. So the new hearing is Lori's hearing. Is going to determine if she's fit to proceed. So that's June 16th at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Yes. And just a quick thing, Lori Hellis, who we recommend you sign up for her newsletter. She's a ex-criminal defense attorney who weighs in on some of this stuff that we just don't know because we're not lawyers.
Yep.
She thinks that what's going to happen is that Judge Boyce will order another evaluation. As we know, Rob Wood is contesting these findings. He don't buy it. And we're going to get down. This episode mainly is going to be about the competency stuff again, because there so many videos like Court TV and Scott Reich and all these guys are doing videos on this, and we're learning stuff. And we're going to post all the links to all the things we talk about today. We're starting to do that in YouTube as well. But it gives a lot of perspective to where I think we can all relax a little bit and not assume she's never going to go to trial for these things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what about yesterday?
So that was when Means, the stuff he was supposed to, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, that Melanie Gibbs subpoena, he had said that yesterday, June the 1st, was when all those things were due to him.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard anything. We haven't seen anything that he's posted. Now, if Melanie Gibb would have retained an attorney for this in an effort to quash that subpoena, we wouldn't know about it on the Idaho judicial pages of interest, I don't think.
Yeah.
Means would have to file something. It's not going to be anything that Melanie Gibbs' lawyer files if she has gotten one. But the deadline for that has passed. And so who knows what's going on with that. We'll keep an eye out.
Oh, yeah.
And what were you saying? Sorry.
No, I was going to just jump to this next thing.
Yeah. And the one thing I've read a lot lately is a lot of people still theorize that Tylee was killed in Yellowstone. And I just don't buy it.
I don't either.
I don't think they would be stupid enough to have JJ in the car, kill her, put her body in the truck, stop for food, and then go back to Rexburg. I just feel like Tylee was killed in the middle of the night at Lori's apartment, just from what we gather.
Yeah.
Although you did have that gunshot at Chad's, which maybe that was his excuse for the raccoon, where he could send that text to Tammy. Maybe a neighbor would hear it. I don't know. I just don't think she was shot and killed at Chad's. I think the murder happened at Lori's apartment.
Yeah, I think the times where Alex was there kind of lines up with something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. There's too many cameras and stuff at Yellowstone, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Even though it's remote, I mean, it would be risky because you don't know where they have trail cams up. They try to catch people poaching and, doing things
Getting
they shouldn't
off the
do.
path. Yeah,
right. So look, they're stupid. I mean, the morons took their phones with them everywhere they went to commit crimes, it seems.
You so small.
But I don't think they would be that stupid. But that's just my opinion. I think, too, maybe it would become a federal case at that point. That's federal land.
Oh, yeah.
And we've heard nothing about that. So
no.
But I just kind of wanted to talk about it.
Yep. So remember, these charges aren't going away. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. She's going to face trial.
Yes.
For these murders.
Yeah, it's all temporary.
Yeah.
And one thing I think, too, is Rob Wood is going to pull in probably jailhouse calls, videos where she's met with people virtually. I mean, there's so many other things that they can use to determine competency. And so I think if she's having any kind of jailhouse conversations with anybody and she's there and she's talking to them, I think Rob Wood's going to pull that in and say, she's playing.
Oh, yeah.
Playing possum, as we say in the South.
Well, like I messed up what was it? The last podcast I said Lucretia instead of Letitia.
You did, yeah.
I did. I messed that one up. But, I mean, look what she did. She got up, wandering around, flipping the lights on and off, all that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah, she was overacting.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a B-rated movie where some horrible actress is trying to act crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, the one thing I was thinking about, they can go into court and argue competent, not competent. Is she crazy? Is she not? But ultimately, it's going to come down to a jury. And it doesn't matter. I think what's going to matter is just what do they think? I think you can call every expert in the state and argue both ways. It's just going to depend on what this jury hears and believes. And maybe they do take this into account. Maybe they don't. I think with the seriousness of the crimes, the planning that took place before, because it doesn't matter if she's competent now. It's going to be about her mindset at the time of the murders.
Oh, yeah. And I still go back to what I said last time. I mean, and we don't know for sure because nobody's said, yeah, she tried to commit suicide or whatever in her cell. But why do you do that? Because you realize, something, I've done something bad, whatever. Yeah, I don't want to live anymore.
Or just being simply unhappy with being confined.
Oh, yeah. Like, okay, you know what's going on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And suicide, I don't care if you're who you are. It's a terrible thing to do. But so we're not making light of it.
No.
It's just we don't know what has happened. And there's such a narrow window. It's just mainly on a basic level. Does she understand the charges against her? Does she understand the proceedings, the role of the defense attorney, the role of the prosecutor, and the role of the judge?
Okay, this is what I want to know. Has somebody seen her in the Gumby suit? Because that's what happens in jail. If you are on suicide watch, you get that big. Here, you get a big green Gumby suit.
It does look like Gumby.
It's like an old wrestling mat's what it looks like with holes in it, so your arms and your legs can come out.
Oh man,
yeah, it's pretty bad. So, if you've been in jail, let us know if you've seen her in the Gumby suit.
Yeah. So Idaho is only one of 4 states without the insanity plea. I watched an interview that Nate Eaton had where he had one of the ex-attorney generals of Idaho who was in that role in the 1980s when it was taken out. And he said the main reason was abuse of the plea. He said anything from traffic tickets to murder, people were pleading insanity. So
I was speeding.
Yeah.
I was crazy.
I went temporarily insane when Motley Crue was on and I was jamming out and got a lead foot,
Yeah.
So we're going to get into that a little bit more, but KOLD in Arizona spoke to Kay and Larry just after all this happened with the charges. And
okay.
So Justin Lum did, and then they talked a little bit to KOLD, and we're just going to relay what they told them.
Gotcha. So remember, the prosecution contest the results. Contest the results, and they will have her evaluated by their own expert. That's big.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was a licensed clinical psychologist that deemed her incompetent right now. I bet Rob Wood's going to get some PhD psychiatrist, doctor, top of the line person to do their own evaluation.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to be small potatoes person. It's going to be somebody who's done this in a criminal setting, I bet, for years.
Yeah, but like you said, they're going to look at the whole thing. I mean, she's on camera all day.
Exactly.
So they're going to look at the whole thing.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Not only are you looking at calls, but yeah.
You're in a fishbowl.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. So they've been in Rexburg and were there when the charges were announced. That was Kay and Larry.
Yep.
I figured they were because one of the videos they did, it was in a hotel room.
Right. And they also said on the Justin Lum interview that they had met with Rob Wood, I believe, previously before the charges were announced publicly. And then they were meeting with him later that day, I believe after the charges were filed or the next day. So I guess he was going to start breaking things down for them. I'm sure there are facts they know we don't.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure Rob Wood kept them up as good as he could as far as being in the know.
For sure.
They were disappointed that the hearings were stopped, but they really expect the hearings to resume. And I'm sure that comes also after Rob Wood has assured them she's not going to get away with this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's not.
No.
Like, this is just a delay tactic.
Well, I mean, in one of the, I believe it was, I can't remember if it was on Nate Eaton's interview he did or Court TV, but I believe it was Nate. But he said that I believe he was a prosecutor in Bonneville County in Idaho. And he said in the history of that town, only one defendant, to his knowledge, was ever deemed just incompetent forever. It doesn't happen.
No.
And that's a lot of people who have been tested for competency over however many years. I mean, probably 100 or more.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of it is just now people going on reassuring the people emotionally invested in the case that this isn't the end. This is a stall tactic.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I think it's a stall tactic.
I totally agree. So Larry said the case went from being slow as molasses to warp speed in a few hours.
Boy, was he right.
I know, right?
When those charges came down, it was probably one of the busiest days we've had as a podcast, trying to go through all the charges, look at what was presented, what little bit that they allowed out that was presented to the grand jury. And then we had everybody coming on, giving opinions, lawyers and all that good stuff. So it was just a busy day, and he was right. It went from nothing to the announcement to, like you said, warp speed.
Oh, yeah. So Kay said that the stalling with the incompetency filing is keeping them from getting JJ's body back to lay him to rest. And she said that's torture.
Yeah.
That is bad.
I don't understand why a competency hearing would stall that, but I guess there's obviously things we don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've had these bodies we're a week shy of a year. And I know that they would just want to bury these kids.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is a lingering thing, I'm sure, every day to know that they're not at rest. And
yeah.
I
It
can't
gives
imagine.
you some kind of closure, even though it's not easy. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah, it does. I mean,
Yeah.
Anytime a loved one has died, I mean, there is some relief after the funeral just because you're not anticipating having to say that final goodbye. That's
Yep.
the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Is waiting to see that casket one last time and, then they're gone.
Yeah.
So I get it. And they were talking about the death penalty again. Larry wants it, but he also understands that this could make the case go on for years and years and years. And Kay said she wants it, but she also said that could change based on the more they learn. So, I think for them, they want it, but at the same time, we've always said it's so hard on these families.
Oh, yeah.
To have to go through the system for so many years, so many court hearings to where, if they're found guilty, which I think they will be, it kind of goes away. They may have an appeal, but for the most part, you don't get all of these automatic appeals.
Yeah.
So I think it's a blessing and a curse.
I totally agree. So what are your thoughts on the body cam footage of Charles?
Well, I was thinking about this, and Mark Means, he is now on Court TV as an analyst, and he was on actually sort of talking about Lori, but not really saying much. But I just thought back to that body cam footage of Charles. It was the night, I believe, they got rid of all of his stuff. He talks about she's a supreme being. She can kill me with her mind or whatever. I totally anticipate at trial, Means is going to pull all this stuff in. And maybe even like what Zach Cox was saying, which is there was a point where she's immortal. She doesn't have to go potty. She doesn't have to eat. I just was thinking, I still think, oh my gosh, try that for a week and see how that goes for you, really.
That's what I'm saying. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. And, at one point she says there's a lot of darkness on earth and it's coming after her for no reason. And then she talks about Kay changing the policy. So it's like, we know why you're mad.
We know why you got darkness, evil.
Yeah. But then you think about so many people said, well, now I think we all know she had major problems to where a year ago or, 6 months ago, I would have said, she was a good mom. But now the more we've learned, we can say she was always manipulative. And even Colby said his childhood was kind of chaotic. And Charles was kind of the only peace he had as a kid, where he provided stability for all of them. I just see the body cam footage, stuff that Zach has said in interviews that I'm sure he's told authorities prior to giving interviews. I see Means bringing that into trial, because even though there's no insanity defense, we'll talk about it in a little bit, you can still argue mental illness.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be an uphill climb for Means. Really, I just do. Her actions before and after are going to just ruin that.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, look what you planned to leave. I mean, you know, like you were in Hawaii, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, yeah. And not only that, but you're on the phone with Melanie Gibb. Now that was Chad, hello, sweet Melanie.
That was like, Hannibal Lecter.
I know.
Hello, Clary.
So I just feel like that even things like that, where Lori is telling her, oh, just take a picture of a bunch of kids running around and say it's JJ.
Yeah.
I mean, she is deliberately hiding the fact that she knew the kid was deceased and buried.
Oh, yeah.
So I just don't think it's going to work. I think it's the only way Mark Means can defend her. Really, there's no other way to defend her, but it's allowed in a very limited setting. So let's talk about what Court TV, they had the ex-attorney general of Idaho, David Lee Roy, on. What did they say?
I ain't gonna lie. I thought it said David Lee Roth.
Oh, man.
I ain't gonna lie. So from the 80s on, he said, while insanity isn't a defense there, it could be that her attorneys argue, was she able to form the mental element or intent of the crimes?
Yeah.
You can have psychiatric testimony, but it is limited. You can also do what they're doing now, asking the judge to rule on competency.
You don't have to do this next part. I know we've already said that. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Means, who was also on this episode, says the reason he thinks it was abolished is due to the money that Idaho had to pay out for evaluations. That had to get expensive.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you've got people that have a traffic ticket that want a mental competency evaluation as opposed to paying $200, you're paying a doctor. And it's not just one visit. I'm sure it's a few. So I can see where that would be expensive for the state.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the state only has to prove intent, which isn't a tall order for concealment of the bodies. Did she intend to commit these crimes?
Yeah, and so what this ex-attorney general was saying is just for the concealment, which are the original charges that they held her on, it's going to be easy to say she knew. He did say it could get a little more complicated when you're talking about planning the murders and the murders, because if she's claiming religious stuff, if she's claiming pretty much to me, it seems like a lot of these women that drown their kids in the bathtub or kill kids, they always say, well, I heard God telling me to do it. Now, whether or not that's true, I mean, what's scary is I think Andrea Yates is out and she drowned her 5 kids and they ruled her insane, I believe.
Yeah.
And she spent time in a mental hospital. And then I guess when they feel like she's competent to leave, she got to leave and she's a free woman. Don't think that'll happen here because there's no insanity defense.
Nope.
It's if the worst case scenario literally is if competency can't be restored, she's going to be in a mental hospital the rest of her life. That's kind of the worst case scenario, or in the Department of Corrections, kind of their, what they would call a high risk unit, essentially. People that are just out of their mind crazy. But neither one of those are anticipated to ever become a problem when it comes to Lori Vallow.
No.
Yep.
Nope.
So specific intent, what that means is what Mark Means could argue is that she didn't know right from wrong when she committed the crimes, just being out of touch with reality. And it's just not going to be easy for him to argue this. And the ex-attorney general said it's just not successful. It's not a successful argument that the jury buys. So like I said, it comes back down to a jury, and they're people like you and me.
Yep, normal people. And
so I just don't see where juries these days, especially when you're talking about dead kids and then dead spouses, and it's all part of a grand scheme, which is kind of what was said in the affidavits. I just don't think you're going to get any sympathy from a jury of 12.
No.
And I don't think you're going to get a jury of 12 to agree it was mental and she gets off.
I don't think so either.
Nope.
Yep.
I just don't think it'll happen.
No.
Yeah. I mean, you still planned the murders. You knew death would happen to another human being. And Vinny on Court TV, he said, even if you say they're zombies and you had to release them, you still plan their deaths. That's first degree murder.
And lied about it.
And lied your little
covered it up.
Lips off.
Fled the scene, fled the state.
Yeah. I mean, and when Means was on Court TV, he just said there's an order, the state's contesting it. And they had other attorneys on at the same time, kind of in their little Brady Bunch boxes. And both attorneys just essentially said, with Mark Means listening, at some point she'll be restored.
Yeah.
They didn't have Mark on TV when they said that, though.
You just told your age.
Oh.
You talking about Brady Bunch?
Dude,
it was the original show.
I have found like the whole series online, and I have been watching it at night.
I ain't gonna lie.
Right before the first 48.
I love the Brady Bunch.
Oh my gosh, it was so wholesome.
Yeah.
I always wanted a Alice, like a maid in our house that right? helped you decide between right and wrong and also could whip up a good apple pie.
Oh, yeah.
How awesome would that have been?
Oh, yeah. I always liked that little room, that little den off the kitchen. They always sat in and like did their homework and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the backyard was really cool, too.
Yeah.
Marsha.
Don't play ball in the house.
My nose.
So Mark Means just said that it's insane that Idaho doesn't have the insanity defense. Blah, blah, blah. Here I go. Oh, boy, y'all. He said that the insanity defense has been around since Adam and Eve, and I don't know where he went with that. Is he saying that Eve was insane because she ate the apple or something? Is he saying women are insane?
What in
Come
the
on,
world?
Mark. Mr. Means, what you mean, dude?
Yeah.
And he said just it's 2021 and they need to bring it back because mental illness is a serious issue and it has to be taken into consideration. And he said it's an embarrassment to the state of Idaho that they don't have it.
Well, I mean, it was written, the law was changed.
Right.
So
he could file motions to have it. Could he not like go to the Supreme Court and say, hey, we need to revisit this?
I guess so.
I just feel like it's such a crutch. There are people out there who commit crimes that are truly insane, but the ones who go into it knowingly are a dime a dozen.
Oh, yeah.
I think that, I mean, put out two hands and you're going to have a lot of fakers in one hand.
Yeah, my big thing is if you try to hide it or lie about it, you know what you're doing.
Right. Okay. So take, for instance, remember the guy in Florida? He was on bath salts and he literally ate somebody's face off.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. That's temporary insanity to me. He took a drug. He was not in his right mind when he did it. I think that is a perfect example to me of temporary insanity. Something totally altered his brain. And they were talking about drug users in the context of temporary insanity on this Court TV special, where they may be incompetent when they come in and they're not clean, but give them 60 or 90 days to get through detox, then they're competent.
Yeah.
So you see, it's, to me, that guy that did that crime was out of his mind.
Most definitely.
You don't eat somebody's face and not be crazy.
That's That's gross. That is so gross.
It was so eerie. I believe they had an overhead shot of him doing it from a helicopter. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Yeah. So, excuse me, y'all. We're going to move on. Yeah. My lung just flopped on the table. So East Idaho News, we're going to move to that.
So Nate talked to Bonneville County Prosecutor Danny Clark about the incompetency filing. The incompetence diagnosis is an opinion. It must be determined by a judge. It's a judicial ruling.
Right. And so what we're seeing here is Rob Wood saying, okay, well, we've got your opinion. We're going to get ours. And then we're going to let the judge decide.
We're going to get the truth sometime. You can't handle the truth.
So Danny Clark, who is the former Bonneville County prosecutor, he said competency doesn't mean she's free from mental illness. You can still have mental illness and be competent. It's not if you have one, you have to have the other. It's whether or not she can just understand the proceedings against her. And they're very basic. It's not like she has to be able to quote law. It's not like she has to be able to pull up Idaho statutes, the numbers like they do off the top of their head. She just really has to understand the process on a very, very elementary level.
She has understood so far.
Yeah, exactly. She
I mean, they asked the question, do you understand the charges that have been made against you or whatever? And you answer yes.
Right.
So,
yeah. And all she has to do is understand the basic principles. So, I mean,
yeah.
but what happens if the judge agrees that he agrees with the original assessment that she's incompetent?
So the proceedings against her are stopped for up to 90 days. She'll be placed in a facility for treatment for restorative treatment. This is the most common thing to happen.
Right. And at the end of those 90 days, we talked about this on the last episode, but if she's found not to be competent, the hold is extended usually for about an additional 180 days. And then she would just have to undergo that same process to restore that competency. So it's going to be therapy, it's going to be drugs, and all that. Like we said, Judge Boyce can order she take oral medications, whatever kind of medications they're going to give her, and see if that restores her competency. Now, somebody did comment they still do shock therapy in Idaho, so they were crossing their double fingers that, we hook her up.
Hey, like Kay and Larry and
yeah.
the others hold some of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's say they determine she isn't competent. What does that look like?
Well, if it doesn't look like she will ever regain competency, like we said, she would be committed involuntarily by the Department of Health and Welfare until competency is restored, if ever. But like we said, these guys all have been very clear in saying it's just not common that they're never competent. It can be a small window. As long as they rule she's competent, they'll start these hearings right back up.
Okay, here's the deal for me. You can act like you crazy and ain't competent, but eventually you ain't going to be able to act.
Right.
You're going to give it up.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't continue down that road.
No. And so what he also said is kind of like the insanity plea in what Mark Means could argue, in that she just wasn't there mentally, but we know she can't do that. And like we said, the cover up, the planning, everything after, it's not going to be easy for them. And he said usually these competency evaluations are usually asked for in the beginning. It's not uncommon that they come 6 months to a year later, but it's not super common.
Yeah, because and I think that's why the judge asked those questions. Have you been read your charges, or has your attorney went over? Do you understand
right
the charges? Blah 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 blah.
And that just tells me that we always go back to what our contact in prison says. The most hardened criminals, or the ones that are just in the pokey fresh from never having charges, at some point they kind of have that realization that I've messed up and I'm never going to get out of these kind of facilities, whether it be jail or prison. And that causes the breakdown. I mean, the girl I know tried to kill herself 3 times before trial because it took 3.5 years to even go to trial. And in the middle of it, she's just tired. She's just tired. I mean, not that she had an excuse, but just mentally within her own mind, she saw no way out for the rest of her life. And so she tried to end it. That doesn't mean she's crazy. It means, like you say, she understands this is probably going to be her reality until the day she takes her last breath. That's not a pleasant thought for people who are guilty or anything. I mean, that's something that they have to work out in their head. And I think the minute that you realize you're not wiggling out of this like you've done everything else, you're going to have a bad day.
Oh, yeah.
So
you're going to say, oh, no.
Right. But ultimately, like we said, it's up to a jury. And you're going to be hard-pressed to find a jury that's not going to hear all this big, huge plan. And there's so much stuff we don't know that's probably going to shock the system when we hear it. No, sorry, I don't buy it.
No.
So that's kind of all we had for today. On the next episode, we are going to go through the witness list that was at the grand jury. What we've done is we've researched and found out who pretty much everybody is. There were a couple of people, though, that were BYU students that I couldn't figure out how they fit. And then I thought, what if they saw Chad and Lori on the track or saw them around campus being lovey-dovey?
Oh, yeah.
Before Tammy died. So we're still trying to look into those two, but that's kind of all I could think of.
Oh, I totally agree.
Because Tylee never went there, obviously, and she didn't know anybody that we know from there. So anyways, but so we will see you guys on Sunday. We're working on a few things already.
Yep.
And if anything new comes up, we'll tweet it out, Facebook it. If it's really good, we'll hop on for a sweet tea session.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you on Sunday.
See you.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.